Had its own power.
The Boogeyman. Now, the most terrifying nightmare of childhood returns. By the time they believe it, it'll be too late. The Boogeyman. Rated R. When you were growing up, the Boogeyman was just a fantasy.
Had its own power.
The Boogeyman. The Boogeyman. He's here. Now. By the time they believe in him, it will be too late. The Boogeyman. Rated R.
All those stories about murders and ghosts.
Do you believe in ghosts?
I'm scared.
Do you believe in evil spirits?
2 kids were killed out there. One kid was gutted and slashed to death. The other microwaved.
Do you believe in haunted houses?
There are many houses on this foundation. All of them and their tenants come to bad ends.
Or do you think it's all just silly superstition?
I will not die!
Maybe you had better think again.
Too late, has it already started?
For if you enter this house, you won't come out alive. Superstition! You won't know who, or what, or why, until it's too late. Superstition! You should have believed.
And what is going on, everybody? We are live. I am Chris C, aka Chris C, the Slasher Dude. That is my cohort over there, my slasher bro, Darren. How is it going today, Darren?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Been doing a bit of preparation for this. And just watching your opening there with the 2 trailers brings back so many memories. Because I can remember vividly these 2 films. And Visiting Hours, I think, was another one. And those trailers used to come on the videotapes before the actual film itself.
Yes.
And both of them live up, you know, I'm not going to give too much away, but both of those trailers live up to these films, I think. You know, or vice versa, I should say. But yeah, looking forward to this one.
Watching these 2 for the first time when we were all talking about it, The Boogeyman from 1980. This film right here pleasantly surprised me. Very pleasantly surprised me. This predates Oculus by like a country mile. People did Oculus, which is a good killer mirror film. Yeah, that's a great release by Vinegar Syndrome. We're going to talk about this film. It was done in 1980. Has a little bit of Amityville in it, considering the way the house looks.
It does, yeah. We will definitely touch upon that. Yeah,
it's a great classic slasher, paranormal slasher. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about 2 paranormal slashers in the Slasher Stream episode 6. We're also talking about this bad boy right here, Superstition, done in 1982. Man, this is the upper echelon. When a lot of this genre was really experimenting with films. This came out around the same time as Madman, as The Burning, as Friday the 13th. You know, this was a great time to be a fan. If I was that age where I could go to the theaters to see these, I'd be like running through lines just to get there. Great film. We're going to discuss this one as well.
I was looking, right, because there's a website called Numbers Online, and takes you back to every single year in history of all their theatrical releases. And if you go through the early 80s especially, there was like 2 or 3 of these slashers coming out every week. It's insane, man, some of the films on there. I was looking through it and I was thinking, like, oh man, what a time. You know, I was alive at that time, but I was not old enough, you know.
I was way not old enough. Yeah, I was like 3 years old or not even a year old. I was born in 1979, so when the Boogeyman came out, yeah, I was definitely a youngin'. That's for sure. So, yeah, great films. Just a quick shout out to everyone who's subscribed to our channels right here. Darren with Dirk there at Subjective Perspective Collective. They're all members of the Dead Pit community. Deadpit at deadpit.com. Go ahead and subscribe to them. They're doing great stuff on Eurocrypt. That was a great first episode.
Cheers, man.
Highly impressive. Both channels getting views, getting people, man. And so it's great getting a new generation of people into this great genre that we love so much. Want to apologize. Work's been busy. I've been feeling too hot. I am subscribed to quite a lot of channels on this original OG channel right here. So I plan on, don't worry, everybody. I plan on just going through everybody's and liking and just getting more knowledge on this genre that we love so much. And of course, this is Slasher Stream, where me and Darren are huge fans of this genre. And yeah, we're going to talk about these films in best detail that we can. These are, if there's a Slasher Hall of Fame, these are first round inductees, that is for sure. First off, we're going to be talking about 1980s, The Boogeyman. So The Boogeyman, 1980. My little bit of notes here on my paper. Directed by Uli Lamel. What other films has he done, Darren? He's done some interesting films later on.
Right, yeah. So, funny enough, which we'll come on to later, he did direct a sequel to this, which I'll delve into a little bit later. But he's kind of well known in the like mid to late 2000s of doing all these serial killer films. So
Yeah.
he did one on the Black Dahlia, the BTK Killer, the Green River Killer, Curse of the Zodiac Killer, and Night Stalker. So he kind of went into that, and they're very low budget. None of them are really, I would particularly say, are great.
Yeah.
But this is his big kind of. This was his film.
Yeah,
this is what made him, you know.
Yeah, this was definitely his film. It was filmed in Maryland and Paramount Ranch in California. So I think the place where they were at was in Paramount Ranch. I'm not sure, but so 2 different types of filming locations. It stars Susan Love as who is married to the director, and her brother Nicholas Love is in here. So Susan Love plays Lacey, and Nicholas Love, her brother, in real life, plays her brother in this one as Wiley. And John Carradine is in here as Dr. Warren, and Helen Thomas as Father Riley. I believe I said that name wrong. So
Yeah, you did it right. You said it right. With the Susanna Love aspect, so it's kind of interesting the way the director met her, because what it was, he was in America and he didn't have no kind of legal. You know, he had to basically go back, I think it was to Germany or wherever it was. And in order to stay on in the country, Susanna Love basically just hooked up with him and said, if we get married, you get your green card. And it was just done out of convenience at first.
How about that?
Yeah, which is
She's
crazy.
very pretty.
But even more so, right? So we find out after he marries her that she's this kind of oil heiress. Her family are basically loaded. So all the money he got for this film, you know, to do all of his films basically was because of her. She put the money up. Her family put the money up.
Very nice.
Yeah, and I think she does a great job. I think she's a great little actress. This is probably her best role, I would say, by far. But yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting, you know. You don't hear that too much, do you, know?
No,
but obviously
not like
they went on and they fell in love and what have you as well.
It's good when you have that. Get lucky every once in a while and get the money to fund this. Is definitely the score. I forgot who did the score for this. The score for this is very good.
Tim Krog did the score.
Yeah. Who was it? I'm sorry.
Tim Krog.
Yeah, it really gets. The music gets me into everything. If you get a good score in anything, I'm sold. And this one really Like, you watch this in the dark, dude, you best be careful. It's like it'll get under your skin. I love that. I love just the eeriness of it and the creepiness of it, which we're going to get to in a second. But yeah, so
that sim score is so like effective, isn't it? All the way through.
Definitely. So
Yeah,
like
it's
synthwave, yeah.
Because early on it kind of like you think it's going to be like a Halloween ripoff, and then as we go into the film, you realize there's a lot of different like things in there. Like there's like Poltergeist, there's a little bit of like the Changeling. You got all those films right in the same time, The Entity, and it's kind of a mismatch of all them. But I think I don't know what it was. He just kind of got lucky, and it come out as this really competent, I think, underrated film. I know there's a few people online that I know really hate this film. They think
they just don't like it,
slow.
which I don't get. There's some parts in here which we'll get to, which are quite funny. But
yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a film of its time, and both of these films, Boogeyman and Superstition, basically in so many words, can give two shits about being nice in slasher films. If both of these films are very mean spirited. Very, very mean spirited. So it's good ones, and we're going to get into this. So go ahead and lead us off, Darren, about the Boogeyman 1980.
Right. So so it starts up. We've got the opening, which is basically like a Halloween style. Music kicks in from the start. Even the house looks like Halloween. And I know we get like a side view later on, which like you've got the windows of Amityville. It's all going on, man. But we get basically the childhood trauma of these two little kids called Willie and Lacey. They're like brother and sister. And they find out, just by spying on their mother through the window, they see her and her lover. He's got the stocking over his head.
Yeah, pitch black at night too. And they happen to be outside. Yeah.
So you've got that whole Halloween type opening, because obviously not happy with that. A knife comes into play. The little girl, Lacey, grabs a knife and basically frees her brother after he gets tied up. He basically gets reprimanded for spying. But we even see that like POV shot as well, which is great with the knife in the hand.
Like Halloween.
Yeah, exactly the same as Halloween.
Yeah. Good callbacks to that. I don't think we see enough of that in kind of films. Maybe it's because they don't want to do callbacks like that, but I like POV shots like that. So
exactly. So there's a big mix of all the big ones of the time, but it's kind of original as well, because with the first kind of scene where the little boy goes in and he stabs, the lover to death, that was actually done in pieces. It was done in Nightmares on a Damaged Brain. And they come after this film as well. So this kind of, even though the parts of this is not original by any means, it does have its very original moments too. And it's so creepy.
That's what's cool about the genre, because I almost forgot about that. Thanks for that info, Darren. Because the imitation is the greatest form of flattery. You do it kind of correctly in film. So it definitely does it here.
And there's a big thing going on in that opening scene as well, where they see the lover with the mirror, which comes into play throughout the whole film. So they both see the reflection, of the lover in the mirror, and that basically just turns into like this big childhood trauma. And then we kind of jump 20 years then. They're all living in this.
Because it's him. It's the brother who kills him, right? I think he's on top of her or something like that, and he comes up and just does that.
But it's never mentioned whether the brother went away, into some kind of institution or anything like that. So we basically go straight to 20 years later.
There's just no name for the boyfriend either, or the man.
Right.
Just nothing. Just there to be there. A little bit of voyeurism, a little bit in a disturbing way with the children, all peeking in to see what's going on. The brother and sister. It's done very well to the point.
There's an opening scene in Dress to Kill as well, which kind of reminds me, and that was the same year, where they're peeking through the window. I think it's Dress to Kill or Blowout, one of them. Might be Blowout, actually, thinking about it. But Yeah, so we go 20 years later, you know, you basically got this family now. They're like Lacey's married. She's married to this guy. Got this young son as well. And they live with that uncle and aunt on this farm. The brother Willie's still there, of course. And they're kind of portrayed as this church going, you know,
Yeah.
quite fairly happy in what they're doing type family, you know, out in the middle of nowhere
Yeah.
and all that. But she does go to the kind of confession box early on in the church, where she says she's got fears about what happened 20 years ago, and she feels that something,
Yeah.
you know, could be happening again really soon, like
Yeah.
a premonition of some kind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just want to mention the brother Wiley, big dude. He's built like a farm boy. He's a big dude. Like it says, he doesn't speak. He's a mute.
Right.
Because of those events, kind
Yeah.
of there's a word for it, you know, kind of a loner type of a person. There is a young lady who likes him.
Yeah.
Talk about that in a minute, or when it gets
That's a
to that
good scene.
point. But you
And
know,
he
just
was
the
a
farm-
go on. Sorry.
just being a farmhand and stuff like that, eating and just being, like you say, regular kind of family, which is like you're like going, yeah, we saw what happened at the start. Now we see this, everything's all calm and stuff like that until, you know, we get to those parts.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was going to say he's in Fatal Games as well. He's got a small role in that.
Nice.
The 1984, I think, slasher.
Yeah.
But
props
yeah,
to
so
Vinegar
you've got
Syndrome for releasing that, by the way.
yeah, man. I've bought it, but I still need to dig into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is where we first see Father Riley turns up. You know, he turns up on the farm to see the family. He says basically, I remember seeing you in church, and I haven't been around for a while. And he gets to meet, you know, Willie, the brother, and what have you. But then you've got the whole thing with the letter. Then Lacey finds out this letter from her mother saying she's basically haven't got long to live, and she would like to see Willie and Lacey again one last time.
That's interesting, because a little bit of spoiler from that, you never hear from her. Like
nothing's mentioned where she is, or
makes me wonder.
You know,
makes me wonder if there was another cut of that. Maybe you just took it out or something. You know, like
yeah.
You know, the children going to meet her would have been a good thing to add to this and stuff like that. But of course, that never came to fruition, as you'll get to.
I mean, yeah, but I love the way it goes. Like, we're going to come into it, but I actually love the way
you hear her voice as she's reading it. Yeah.
No
phone call, nothing like that yet.
So Lacey keeps getting these flashbacks to the murder, and more than likely when she sees herself in the mirror as well, you know. And I think Willie's got like an issue with mirrors and all sorts. But that's where like the really weird soundtrack kicks in and plays throughout. And it's like no other.
It kind of surprises you because it gets louder. You're like, whoa, wait a minute, you know, because you won't be sleeping during this, or else you're going to be waking up from that. You're like, whoa, what happened here? So
I would urge people as well for the score alone to watch the original trailer where you've got Lacey going up to the door and you know.
Yeah, she's being like chased in by something. It looks like she's being chased.
Which we'll get into, but her clothes are all being ripped apart off her and all that. That's where that's what I remember the score from the trailer, man. But yeah, so the house, like you say, it does look a lot like Amityville from the side.
From the back. Was it from the back of it? I think.
Yeah, from the back,
so
maybe,
it's like a farmhouse. I remember looking at that, and I'm like going, and it just puts a smile on my face because I like the original Amityville. I've not seen 2 yet. That was a great stream you all did on that, by the way. But I'm just like, I love kind of callbacks to that because they're keeping with that. And I just smirk and kind of laugh a little bit. I'm like, oh, that's great. It's the Amityville house. So y'all put this in here, where it acts kind of like a haunted house a little bit here. So
it does. There's a bit of everything. Like I said, I mentioned all those films earlier, and don't let that take anything away from this film.
Not at all. I think it's great. Yeah,
it does. It does homage those films really well. But Lacey, she has this nightmare where she's being dragged. She's tied to a bed and is about to be stabbed by someone. You know, someone in the shadows. We don't get to see who it is. And her husband Jake basically talks her into seeing this psychiatrist. Played
Yeah.
by the wonderful John Carradine, by the way.
Yeah, John
what,
Carradine.
What an actor, man.
Do a quick thing on him. Like I say, I recognize the last name, of course, but what other stuff has he been in?
So he was in the one I know him a lot from is he was in The Howling.
Okay.
He was in some weird stuff, man. He was in Shockwaves, which I've recently done on Dead End Driving. He was in Silent Night, Bloody Night.
Which they showed in Eyes of the Stranger.
Right. Jacko, Revenge, Buried Alive. I could go on and on, but The Howling, I would say, is his big, well-known film.
Yeah, it's huge.
And he was a hell of a character as well. He wasn't a very nice person, apparently, but by this stage as well, he developed this really bad kind of arthritis in his hands, and he was kind of finding it hard. But amazingly, he went on to work like 6 or 7 years more after this, in film. So, iconic, very iconic looking actor. You know him. You only got to hear his voice, and you can tell that's John Carradine. And another little note: he was basically paid $10,000 for this film, and he'd done 1 day's work with that. So he turned up for 1 day. Yeah, so not bad if you can get it. So
not bad at all for 10 grand. Why not? I'd do a day for 10 grand if I was an okay actor. I'd do it.
Right, so you're talking 30 or 40 grand nowadays, I guess. So yeah, easily. But constant professional. You can tell for way this, the scenes he is in anyway. But yeah, he plays a psychiatrist, and he's got kind of, with every character he plays, they're very similar. He's kind of like this spooky kind of old guy, and he famously said, like, one of the directors asked him on Shockwaves, they said, are you planning on getting into character, and how the way you're going to play this character? And he turned around to me and he said, well, I've played this character for 400 times. So, so it was pretty much basically him.
Like seeing and Shockwaves playing with the very late, great Peter Cushing. I mean, heck, dude. Just to be able to, act and stuff like that during that time and be with these legendary Hammer actors and just feel Peter Cushing. We all know what else he's played, but, so that's really cool.
That film's wacky as well, man. Like I said, I went back to it recently, and it's
Nazi
a good
Undead.
time.
Yeah, Nazi Undead.
Yeah, it's a very good time. So you've got Katie. Basically then, so Jake kind of gets in his head now from psychiatrist that they got to go back to the original house to take Lacey back to the original house. It's like, if you see it as it is now, all your demons are kind of going to go away and you're going to be fine. That's kind of the logic behind it. And she reluctantly goes through with it because she tries to get out of it at first to do fishing with her son. But then she's kind of like, she just goes with it. And that's where you get the scene kind of interjects then with the scene of that girl, Katie. She turns up to get like these kind of fresh eggs from the farm. And that's where you get Willie there. And she basically like comes on to Willie. And he strangles her. He lifts her off her feet, kind of Michael Myers like.
Yeah,
he's got her like that.
She really likes him. That's in the farm where
that's a weird scene as well. Like you say,
she comes out of nowhere. She's like high and stuff like that. And she's hot as hell. And
yeah.
You see how kind of the difference in there. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, and like he literally like picks her up, like you say, like something happens because it looks like they're all getting lovey-dovey, and then you just kind of see that switch because he's thinking about what's going on and happening.
The way I looked into it was, I thinking, because of the trigger of sex with the the boy, the mother's lover. I think he's got this thing about sex, and like because she's trying to have sex with him, he just completely flips, which is understandable with the trauma that he's been through. But yeah, that's where he kind of paints all the bloody mirrors black, and he goes into himself. He's kind of withdrawn. He can't speak anyway, so he's kind of, like you say, a loner. He's withdrawn and all that.
Like I say, that scene just comes out of nowhere. All the animals in the farm and stuff like that too. I always thought that was really interesting, because animals see everything. Animals can't talk. They can, but they don't talk in our language.
Exactly. Yeah. But this is where the film gets good for me. So Lacey and Jake, they turn up at this original house where they used to live in, where all this trauma happened. And they find out the house is on the market for sale, so they pretend to be, would-be owners. Like, they go in, and they've got these two sisters living there, and the little annoying little fucker, like this little kid, he's just so annoying. Like
that dude, the peeping Tom. Yeah.
I mean, I was so happy when he, we're going to mention what happens to him in a minute, but Lacey basically goes into the bedroom, and through the mirror, she sees her mother's deceased boyfriend, and she just kind of just panics, doesn't she? And she kind of smashed fuck out of this mirror.
Did they always? And that's the original mirror. Did they inherit that from her mom? Because you don't hear from her mom.
We don't know, actually, the original.
Yeah, because I guess she passed away, and I guess they ended up getting the mirror, which is crazy. So a little bit of, like you say, a little bit of missed, plots here. We have some plot holes, of course, but that mirror happens to be there. We'll get to the point of when they start discussing about the mirror and all this other stuff.
Yeah, right. So Jake, like, in a panic, he kind of like picks up all the pieces of the mirror, and for some reason he says, "Look, we'll take it home." And I don't know whether he plans on just putting it together or to try and, I don't know, convince Lacey that there's nothing wrong with the mirror, but we'll see how that ends up, which is not good. But yeah, he says basically, there's nothing, it's just ordinary reflection. There's nothing paranormal about this mirror or anything.
Yeah.
So they just go with the flow.
It's a bad luck thing too that they discuss, and that's a quick spoiler here. One of the pieces is missing. And they happen to mention, a little spoiler here, and they mention here too, it's like a bad luck thing, right? You never break a mirror, but you kind of think, something was released here as soon as you broke that mirror. And they get into their reasoning behind that later on in the film.
Absolutely. The minute that mirror was broken, all the supernatural stuff kicked in.
Yes, it did.
Like you say, a little piece of the mirror gets left behind, and it kind of glows red, doesn't it? Glows red, because it does that at the end as well. The two sisters and the brother, they all succumb like to these strange kind of supernatural deaths.
The
first girl kind of gets possessed with scissors in her hand, and she kind of
she's cutting her hair because she's getting ready for something.
I think to see her boyfriend, maybe.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's a really strange scene. So she ends up, I think it's putting the scissors through her throat. The little boy I love this scene. Ever since I was a kid and I saw this scene, I loved it. So he climbs up the front of the house.
Through the window.
Yes. So funny. And he jumps in and he goes, "Boogeyman!" And all of a sudden this window just goes and kills him. I've always loved that scene.
Films in these times didn't care. With these children, I'm like, dang, son. It's like you just go. It was because something, when she's cutting her hair, something possesses her, and that's a slow one too, like Giallo-esque, where it's like really like that. She's like wondering what's going on.
Yeah, she tries to fight it, doesn't she?
She tries to fight it, and just to kind of can't do it. It's a scene too where everybody else is gone and they're left there in that house, right? I love scenes like that. They've done that in Friday the 13th. They've done it in slashers before, where people go, okay, and then you have these victims kind of stuck here, as I call them, cannon fodder in this place, and that's just done very well to that point.
I'm thinking maybe their parents are like working or something. It's kind of left the three of them together, but you get the POV shots as well with the heavy breathing going around the house, kind of following them. And like you say, once the last of the sisters dies, she gets killed. Like strange kind of fire appears or what have you, and the door kind of bangs into her, and that's all we see. We don't really see Noah.
Yeah, they try to escape. Yeah, she tries to get out. Yeah, because she sees what happened, and that's creepy as hell, because that's it.
It is, because you don't see everything, you know.
Because films like this, the screen fades out. So I was
Yeah. And then that's when you start to get all like the poltergeist activity. That and you got to think this film was 2 years before Hooper's film, Poltergeist. And I'm trying to think of another film where we get all this kind of poltergeist activity going on before this.
Other than the one we're going to talk about next, because there's window kills in that too.
Yeah, exactly. And I couldn't really come up with one. There probably is, but
window kills. You have that. You have of course, the great kill in Inferno as well. You have stuff like that. This is just done in kind of a trippy way where I didn't see it coming, especially with the kid when he just goes Boogeyman, whack. Dead. You just see that. So I was like, okay.
That was like an in-joke with me and my mate for a long time, because he used to collect all the video nasties, and which I gotta say, this is on the video nasties list as well.
Yes, it is.
It's quite famous for that. And we'd always when we go out drinking or whatever, just always come up with that Boogeyman like that. And it'd become
I call them big no-nos. Hashtag big no that you put in the film. And the video nasties, they just nitpick at every little thing. They're like going, oh, children, no.
And to kill a child as well on camera, they didn't use but you've got, again, we're going to, because definitely on the next film I want to mention,
Wes Craven looked at this too. He had to. A lot of films.
Sure,
we talked about The Slayer. This came around the same time too.
This did really well, apparently, as it had a budget of $300,000 to $350,000, but it did do well, and certainly on home video. I think it had maybe a theatrical showing in some of the big cities. I'd have to look that up, but the psychiatrist basically says there and tells her by destroying the mirror, everything should be okay. And it's far from okay, from what comes on later on in the film, because we get this pitchfork levitates, kind of flies through the air and misses Willie and Lacey by inches, basically. So you've got all this supernatural, stuff going on.
Like happens. Yeah, just whatever. It's weird.
It is. It's really
cool. Yeah. Sorry, Darren, I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Just give me a quick second. Just keep on going, and I'll be right back.
Okay. So, we got this shadow mirror then gets caught in the young boy Kevin's shoe. Lacey takes him fishing. And the reflection of the kind of the mirror in his shoe, we go across to this lake where it completely turns Friday the 13th. So you've got these 4 young teenagers kind of partying in this abandoned house. They're kind of having sex and what teenagers do kind of thing. But there's a great kill. I think one of the best kills of the film. So this one guy out of this group, he goes back to the car to get something, I believe. And this skewer comes and like levitates out of nowhere and goes straight through the back of his neck and out of his mouth. And he's kind of there in the car, just sat on the front seat, dead. All the other kids
we need to discuss that, because I'm a big fanboy of that, because it's like all of a sudden you have these couples in this beach side, right? And they're all just
turns Friday the 13th, doesn't it?
It has to be. It has to be. Like I say, films like this put a big smile on my face. We all know how much I love that franchise. And they kind of split up a bit, just hanging around, having fun. So the one couple, because the one dude just wants it badly.
Yeah.
So they just go into this abandoned like farm or whatever it is, or
abandoned
this
house.
Shed.
Yeah. On the beach.
What's really cool about it is the kid's on the other side, right? Or
because the mirror,
it's the reflection of the sun.
Exactly.
That is what makes this so good. That is so creative. With what, like you say, with a budget of $300,000, that's estimated for the box office, and it works so well. Specifically, like you say, up to the point in the car, that's hilarious.
Right?
It's great. It's definitely brutal, but just that whole thing in like the farmhouse is like just done so well, and all this other stuff too. It's done
so
very well.
inventive, that kill as well. You know, the first kill, like it's some skewer, I think it is. It goes back through it. It goes through his neck and out of his
Yeah,
mouth.
it goes through his neck. Yes.
But then to have the girl go up to the car as well, and like the door kind of falls on her and she goes forward.
Right,
That
like
is
they're
just
kissing.
brilliant.
I haven't seen anything like that, like, ever. And when they're driving away, they're like going, just let them do their thing.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, they're still kissing.
We got some
But-
survivors here because they don't know what's going on. I was like,
Exactly.
really...
But do you think, right, that the director of Happy Birthday to Me with the shish kebab must have seen this film?
Had to have.
That's
right.
have seen this film. And I love that shish kebab kill as well in Happy Birthday.
Yeah,
to
that's
Me.
top tier.
But
Yeah,
for me, I think that's the best kill of this film, really.
Oh, it has to be. Because it's so random and so creative.
Yeah, it's kind of like, although it's not as long, it's kind of like the scene in Bay of Blood where you get all the kids partying, you know, and they try to break in the house and all that.
That's
so
why it just totally like separates itself from the film.
Yeah.
Right. So very good. You have scenes like that.
So I'm guessing whether Friday the 13th had come out before this, and maybe they thought they'd throw that in to, like, you know.
Oh yeah, that was a thing. Like it's definitely a slasher. Let's just put a lot of slashers did that after it. They just put cannon fodder people in there just for the sake for them being taken out. So it's like,
which does happen in our next film. Yeah, it does happen in Superstition, actually.
Oh God, yes, it happens in the next film.
So you've got Lacey now on arriving home, like she gets freaked out. You know, you've got her husband kind of almost gets possessed, like when he's trying to put the last piece of the mirror together.
Right, like so you get to the last kind of part, like the last chapter of this, right? And like, okay, here we go. We have the final people here going back home and stuff like that too, with their uncle and aunt, I think. Right there.
And you've got that great scene where, like I say, it's in all the early trailers.
Sorry about that, everybody.
Her clothes are just being ripped off, and she runs up to the door. And it's like, you can see, and I think she does a great job. You can see the terror in her face.
Yeah, you think she's paranoid, or they're probably thinking she's a little paranoid. Yeah.
Or are you thinking maybe something like the perfume of the Lady in Black? Is it all in her head?
Yeah.
You know? Repulsion, maybe something like that.
Oh,
but we do find out, you know, as the film goes on. But it doesn't. That's what I like about this one as well. It doesn't like hand feed you all the like backstory or anything. You just work it out as you go. But that scene, superb. So Lacey then believes in breaking the mirror. She has basically released the dead body of her mother's lover. That's kind of the
killer
story.
Like, he was trapped. He was trapped in the mirror. When you kill somebody in front of that mirror, it's almost like a purgatory for him.
Right.
Exactly. Once you broke the mirror, you know, and I think that's when they notice there's a piece missing.
They do, yeah. Because they get the father, so they get Father Riley now to come and kind of bless the house. So he turns up, and in touching the mirror, it kind of goes like that piece kind of goes like red again, and it does this really weird thing where it floats on top of like Lacey's eye. That's a great shot.
Is she sleeping when that happens?
I think she might be in a trance at that point.
Because they're wondering, the parents are wondering what's going on. So, quick thing about that, the church that the priest is from, Saint Ignatius Church. That's the one in Maryland, Port Tobacco, Chapel Point Road. So that's just that location where they just show that church where the father's based off of. So I guess he took like, you know, just maybe pictures of it or like a video of it really quick to put it in this film when he was over there. I thought that was pretty good. So that's pretty interesting stuff.
But that scene, so basically she gets possessed because of this. But that scene is like straight out of Amityville Horror when the priest goes to the house in Amityville Horror.
Thing. Yeah.
So you've got all this going on now. She's basically possessed. The uncle, they find out, has been killed by a pitchfork.
Right, because him and his wife go to the farm.
Yeah,
go into the stuff to like because they're trying to help out and stuff like that too. And
right, yeah.
Oh, is that where the It's a pitchfork, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it's a pitchfork.
yeah.
But we only see like the aftermath of the aunt and the uncle.
Yes.
I think she falls down out of one of the doors. Like,
yeah, one of the doors.
When
yeah.
the door's opening.
Yeah, that's the classic scene that used in slashers. It's like where
exactly
those
two kills are off camera as well, which kind of I don't mind that so much.
Yeah, I don't mind that either.
But with Lacey being possessed, then the priest basically dies trying to like he kind of tries to exorcise her, doesn't he? You know, again, The Exorcist. I know I'm going to keep throwing these films in, but
really,
so he kind of dies.
Danny DeVille, The Exorcist. It's
like a greatest hits.
Yeah,
but in a good way, you know. Yeah. And I think all these kind of flames burst into the into the sink when he's trying to exorcise her. So they come to this idea now that
it's basically this scene right here. It's all done in green.
Yeah.
I like a lot. All done in green like that, and it's like the trailer is kind of funny because you kind of see it just like sitting there, but you kind of know what's going on there. So
exactly, yeah. So they kind of work out now that to get rid of this whole thing, they need to get rid of the mirror, and what they decide to do is to chuck it down the well because there's a well in the garden. And they as soon as they chuck it down the well, it like bursts into flames and everything.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah.
So, but Willie finds out now that he can start to talk again. Just completely comes back, his speech.
Like he was in a trance.
Right, yeah. So we're all building on to the final scene now. And so basically we all think this has gone away now. We think they're fine. Everything's going to be fine. Lacey, Willie, and the young boy Kevin, they visit the cemetery to see their aunt and uncle's grave. And it's kind of like this calming scene in it. You know, you get it in a lot of these
children
songs.
Are playing.
Yeah, you get it in a lot of these songs. But the last shard of glass gets detached from the boy's shoe and it glows red.
Yeah.
And then it ends.
Yeah,
and
right. When they say it's time to go home and stuff like that. Okay, because
that's
where it was.
Right.
On him originally, right? It attaches yourself. It attaches itself to where you can't see it. I really like that idea. You're like, and then all of a sudden it's there, and then you just go, I see it turn red.
So the thing is with this, then they set it up for a sequel. And boy, man, and I've got the original Return of the Boogeyman VHS and all that. So basically, if you want me to just say what the sequel's briefly about, I can go through that if you want.
Go right ahead. Yeah.
So it's called Revenge of the Boogeyman. It was made 3 years later, 1983. And it was directed by Bruce Hearn. I think Lully Lamel kind of had a little bit of input into it. So it stars Susanna Love again as Lacey. And she travels to LA to talk to a producer about making a film on the whole supernatural elements of what happened, the whole events of the first film.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's not good. It really isn't good. It's never been out.
That's why here.
Yeah, I think it's been out on DVD, but it's never been out on Blu-ray or anything like that. All I can remember from it, because I have seen it, is it's like Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, where 30% or 40% of the film is all from the first.
Recap.
Yeah.
They introduce the brother, the little younger brother.
Exactly, and you get some of the death scenes in this one as well. The sequel, it's kind of all these implements like flying around, killing people like possessed. But that's all I can remember. It's really weird because Lully Lamel did do another Redux version of the second film back in 2003. And this is the one. This was the one with all the footage just re-put back in, like Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah.
And it's got all the flashbacks and all that, and it's really bad as well. So I don't know. I think I wouldn't be surprised if that comes out one day on Vinegar Syndrome. I'd like to see it just to have the two. But no, that's the Boogeyman, man. Solid, very solid slasher. I mean, it kind of creeps into like the high end for me of the slasher film, but we'll go on to ratings and that, and see what if we're on the same page. So what would be your initial thoughts then, Chris, on this? Like initial thoughts and like rating.
Initial thoughts. This is a gem, unheralded gem, really. I remember when Vinegar Syndrome released this. I know Dirk got it and stuff like that. He really likes it. I know guys at Dead Pit don't.
Yeah. I know Uncle Bill doesn't.
Yeah. So it's not for everybody. And Shudder has this. I watched it on there. Check it out, and I really liked it. It's different, and I really like Oculus. If you haven't seen Oculus, check that out. It's a great film. It's a killer mirror as well. Still has that. To me, at that time, Oculus was the only film I've seen that kind of has that killer mirror type of a thing, because that has a lot to do with the possession in the mirror as well. And that has a family dynamic in that too. Then watching this, I'm like going, oh, right. I see where the director got the idea, because this has to be it.
Exactly. Pat Ellinger actually mentions that in the commentary tracks. He mentions Oculus.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I love Kat Ellinger. She's
one as well come out. There was one that came out in 2007 called Mirrors. I never got to see that one.
I haven't seen that one either. And not like they haven't been used in films. The Hellraiser 4 Bloodlines did it. That's a cool death scene with a mirror, you can call it.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
But this one is a gem, in my opinion. Like you say, you take Amityville horror, you take Friday the 13th, you take The Exorcist, you have a haunted house, you have a slasher, paranormal slasher. I think I originally gave this 4 out of 5 stars and a heart. I say it's a good, solid, very high 7.5 out of 10. Like I say, there is plot holes in here. I thought they could have added to it and stuff like that, but the score is top notch. The acting is actually quite well done. And I love it when films can give two shits about characters and stuff like that and make you think about it, specifically during this time. It is a brutal time, really is. Early 80s are a brutal time for these films and stuff like that. So I love the grittiness of it. So yeah, I like it a lot.
I can definitely, see where you're coming from. For me, this is like nostalgia as well. So I got a little bit of that in there. This is a very strong 8 to 10. I would definitely a top tier slasher. I like the fact that it's supernatural. Not too many of these films were being made at the time. Certainly, this was probably well before, even the likes of like Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Like
it highly predates it.
And, I think it's influenced a lot of films, even though it's been influenced itself. But yeah, it's just a shame the director didn't really go on and do anything remotely as good as this, in future.
These one-hit wonders from these people, like say with Amityville, with that director and what that director did and stuff like that. This is only American film, right? So you have these really,
which blows my mind when I think a good Amityville 2 turned out, and he only, he didn't do another film in America or whatever. But this did really well. This made $25 million. Wow. And that's before the home video type thing. So Paramount wanted to do Boogeyman 2, but Uli Lommel refused to do it. Obviously, he went on to do it himself, a bit later on. But yeah, he didn't see none of the money because the distributor went bust apparently straight after. Yep. We didn't see any of that 25 million. But yeah, highly recommended. I think you could do a lot worse. If you like that slow kind of burn, the kind of atmosphere and all that, I think you'll love this film.
Yeah, synthwave before synthwave was a thing. Done very
there's
well.
no way I'd recommend this to like the kids of the day or anything, where they gotta have this MTV type action all the way through. But yeah, as ghost films and kind of all that go, this is up there for me. Yeah,
done very good. What score did you give it, Darren?
I give it a very high 8 out of 10.
Very cool.
8.5 out of 10.
That's a good one. Yeah, after rewatches, this will definitely go up. That's for sure. So yeah, definitely recommend it. So yeah, we had some people coming in and out of the chat. So go ahead and get started here. Show everybody off. Brian Goes Blue and Coco too. Thank you, Brian. And
hey, Brian.
Coco, if you're here, thanks for checking us out. Yeah, very cool. Man, Domze, he's a former coworker of mine and stuff like that. So he's probably just checking us out real quick. Thank you, Dom.
What's up,
appreciate
man?
it. all in here. Thank you very much. We can officially start as soon as he showed up. We got more people viewing there. I really appreciate that.
Hey, Colin, how are you, man?
Nikki, hey, how's it going? Thanks for checking it out and stuff like that. She loves all types of films. Jeff's mom. So it's very cool seeing her in here. So it's very cool.
Hey,
does all that stuff too. So everyone else saying hi. So yeah, definitely Boogeyman. Boy, Vinegar Syndrome has the rad sale coming up. So some out of print stuff maybe coming back. I think the Boogeyman might still be available there. Who knows? Maybe we'll get a slip with a slip and stuff like that too. Yeah,
I think it's got to be. Yeah, it's got to be in every slasher film, like every slasher film fans collection, basically.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I highly recommend it. Yeah, that is the Boogeyman. What else can you say? I think we've done a good job describing that film quite well for you, everybody. Next up here, we're going to get into the nitty gritty with this bad boy. This one I like quite a bit. I mean, I was highly impressed. So we're talking about 1982's Superstition. Reverse cover on this bad boy. I like this one a bit better. But real quick, just name this off. Superstition, 1982, directed by James W. Robertson. This is a Scream Factory release through Studio Canal. So I got this bad boy before. I think this is out of print. I'm not sure. Off of one of a Scream Factory's OOP sales, as they call them. Writers Galen Thompson. This is New Line Cinema. If you did not know, right? I think they're mentioned in here. Possibly this one has the special features are kind of a great scan for this one. It's a 2K scan, but it has an interview with actor James Hutton, I believe, and interview with director as well, James Robinson, and actor James Hutton, who was like a soap opera star. He was in Dynasty, and also so it stars James Hutton as Reverend David Thompson. Albert Salmi as Inspector Sturgis, great actor, great part for him. Stacy Keach Sr. as Reverend Henry. That's right.
Yeah.
Senior, his son, Stacy Keach, like a legendary voice as well. He did. I remember I've seen him in films and stuff like that, but he used to do a thing for MSNBC and stuff like that where he did some episodes.
Road Games is the big one I know him from.
And yeah, of course. And this was filmed in Garbett House, 1809 Apex Avenue, Los Angeles, California. So it's a witch story. This feels a little bit like the director watched Black Sunday with Miss Steele, because it is a witch story from the trailer, which I showed that, and I just thought of that too. So
and Suspiria as well.
Suspiria I would say. Too. Go ahead, Darren. Talk about this film a little bit and what's your thoughts on it.
Right. So this one again holds like a big place in my heart, really, because I've got the old VHS, which was on VTC label. I've even got the big UK quad poster where it's got the image of the witch in shadow when you see her on the steps, and the actual name of the film is The Witch on there as well.
Yes.
So this is another one I watched very early on. You know, we rented this.
It was very popular in VHS for what the trivia on IMDb says. It was very popular in your neck of the woods there, Darren. I can see why. It's very well done. Yeah,
so the director was also a cinematographer, and he did Terror on Tour and The Time That Dreaded Sunday, which, like, he was a big, he helped out a lot on The Time That Dreaded Sunday, apparently. He did a lot of stuff behind the scenes. And I will say, like, when we come into the notes afterwards, he worked well with, I think the guy who plays the killer in The Time That Dreaded Sunday, The Phantom, but I think it's Bud Cooper. Bud Davis, sorry. He actually knew him very well, to where they're even friends today. And that guy, you know, he's superb. He also plays the witch, I think, in this. So That's not bad to have on your CV, is it? The Witch from Superstition and the Phantom from The Town of Dreaded Sunday.
Like that trailer, I will not die. I can never die. It's like,
I'm
dude.
surprised why that guy haven't been called up for, like, you know, to do conventions. Because just those two films alone, I think he would get, you know, he would do decent business in the autograph, you know.
Exactly.
But so basically you got this witch. She's put to death in 1692, and she swears vengeance on her persecutors and returns to the present day to punish her, the descendants. Like Chris said, completely like Black Sunday. I think all these witch films have got kind of the same kind of scenes, haven't they? And we see a scene later on as well where this witch gets put to death, and that's very effective as well. So we'll come on to that. So the opening starts up basically like another Friday the 13th, would you say?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you got the two lovers, you know, in the car, but it's with a twist because they get pranked, and these two boys or whatever, they stick in it like this ghost type thing comes down in front of the
near
car.
this house that's been abandoned, or it's kind of fenced off. You find out more about that house and what's going on with that a little bit later in the film. But the prank, it's like a mask that gets put on there and stuff like that. You get scared shitless and to leave because it was getting hot and heavy in there. I'm like, oh boy, they're going pretty good here. It's like, it's the typical trope they like using slashers. It's like, yeah, let's all do it right in front of like the haunted house that looks all eerie and creepy and all this other stuff. I think that's just the greatest idea in the world. Let's just do that shit. So
it's brilliant though, that opening scene, because you get like something basically supernatural starts to stalk these two guys in the house. You know, the ones who pulled the prank.
Yeah.
The one gets thrown, and the other one ends up getting his head blown up in the microwave, which is great, man. What a way to open.
Yeah, because you don't see that happen. You know, something happens with them, and then
yeah.
And you see like the coolest scene. It's a neat scene where it's a slow burn too. He's going throughout the house, doors closed behind him. Then he sees the thing in the microwave, and the whole microwave explodes because it was on all of a sudden. So it's like a bad hookup or whatever, and it's like it goes boom like that. Yeah.
So that's where we get the supernatural straight from the start with this one. You know, the other guy tries to get out the window, doesn't he, and gets his body cut in half.
He gets it cut in half. It just goes like that.
Yeah.
It's like
I wondered how they did that. I was thinking at first they maybe did that with an amputee or something, but apparently it was just a prosthetic that the director
he falls down, and then and just the prosthetics are done very well. He tries to crawl away, of course, like that, and of course he's dead. I was like, dang, you know.
The effects in this film are really good. It was it was a guy called William Munn and his special effects team, and a lot of it is practical.
Yes,
you know?
Practically all of it is.
Pretty much all of it is practical.
The makeup is done very well here. The creature effects are done very well here. It's basically, you find out that the property is owned by the church. That's when they introduce Reverend David Thompson, who's like, what is he? He's in charge of the money and all that stuff as part of the church or something, or they don't explain a lot. This talks about The Exorcist too, where, you know, the whole Damien Karras character is like a psychiatrist, right? Or science and all this other stuff too. So I always find that interesting.
Yeah, he's brought in, I think, to basically look after the house, and
he's doing paperwork. The priest. That's Stacy Keach is I think is Reverend Henry, right? Yeah, he's the one that says, it's like, put him in charge of this whole situation.
And that's where you get the Inspector Sturgis turns up with his partner.
The partner.
Find out, but what happened to the two guys who got killed?
Like, by the way, two guys got killed on your property. Like, because they own it. Because he mentions, I think, what is it that they plan on tearing it down or something like that, the house and all this other stuff too, or something.
Well, basically, the church has been left the house, so when it's gone into like disrepair, there's this big pond that comes into play as well, like the back. But he basically says to them, if you don't move quickly, you're gonna have to like basically tear it down, and you won't have no option. So unless you go in and clean it up, like we're gonna tear it down basically. So
Yeah.
they end up cleaning it up, doing all the painting and all that. And they have this family move in as well,
Yeah, it's a priest, right? Fellow priest with his
priest,
wife and two
Yeah.
daughters and son.
Right, yeah, which is kind of weird in itself because it's kind of very old, you could tell it's haunted from the opening scene.
Yeah.
You also have another character, the caretaker of the house is called Elvira, and she's like a witch herself, man.
And
She's
her son, who
is it
we've
Alan?
seen stuff like this before. Yeah, her son, where she kind of describes what's going on with him too.
Yeah, and how would you describe that, man? So he's kind of being controlled by this witch. She hints on it.
Yeah, because they talk about the lake that's right next to it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
More callbacks to F-13. Gotta love it.
And he's a mute as well
with that lake too.
Right. Yeah. Because he's a mute as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a mute. Yeah. Kind of weird. Of course he is because the detective mentions him too about what's going on and all this stuff too. It's like you have to deal with this guy as well.
yeah, he's so weird. They kind of tail him because they think he could be behind the two deaths of the two guys from the start. But there's a great scene where one of the policemen follows him. And
the detective.
He goes. Alan goes running off into the woods, but the detectives starts to walk out towards the water, and
I know he's all like in the trees, all watching him and stuff like that. Then he goes somewhere else, and he's like going, he goes on the dock, tries to find out what's going on.
His money falls out of his pocket on the dock, and he's picking it up, and then there's that creepy shot where he just goes over the edge and looks into the water.
You see the hand.
Bang! You see his hand. Oh man, that's such a great shot. And that plays into the final shot of the film as well.
Yes, it does. All goes back to the beginning.
This one's very creepy, man. This is not your fun popcorn style Friday the 13th. This is dark, man.
This is extremely dark.
So you've got this curse. Basically, has been everyone who's lived in that house has kind of come to some kind of fucking bad ending.
Yes.
The priest kind of finds out. He goes to look into it. I think Elvira gives him so much information as well.
Also, she does mention that stuff happens at night. Does not happen during the day, but it happens at night. You find out about that later.
So we find out that Elvira's saying that this witch is kind of protecting her son, who she has no contact and doesn't really talk to anymore. But she kind of hints, she says, when the moon is rising, she's giving these cryptic hints to the Reverend or David Thompson, I think is his name. But he kind of takes on the role of investigator, you get in these shallows.
He's a funny character. He's kind of oblivious to a lot of stuff that's going on. The conversations here are really funny. The dialogue between the characters.
There is, yeah. And you've got the little girl as well who shows up in this white dress.
Yes,
I kind of worked that out myself, but it's kind of
I did too because she comes and says hi. Hi, my name is what's your name? I think she says what her name is.
Mary. Yeah. She said she once lived in the house as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big thing. I used to live here in a white dress.
Of it.
In a white dress. Gee, does that sound familiar? Yes, it does. Nightmare on Elm Street, where you have the girls in the white dresses with the jump rope. So
exactly, and this dress is dated as well for the time, so you can tell this dress is old, compared to the time. But they find this huge steel crucifix in the pond, and then you've got that kill with the other clergyman with the saw, the table saw.
Yeah, with the father, with the Stacey the senior, the Reverend Henry. Yeah, they're doing construction with the house. The guy, he goes, let's all just take a break or something like that. It's like, hey, everyone take a break. Hey, take a break. Yeah. And it's still going, and the saw comes off. What a scene. comes off.
It is fucking
Bing, bing.
amazing.
You
Yeah.
see the girl run through real quick. You
Right.
see the girl run through real quick, and that's a great kill scene. Bing. He's not sitting yet, but he soon sits on the rocking chair. Boom,
Yeah.
and then it just digs in.
It just
like
goes
that,
right through him. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, no.
It's
He tries to be emotional with that. He's like, no, oh god.
Yeah.
You see the thing like go like a coin lights up like that, and it fades out. And I love that.
The like we mentioned earlier, the effects in this are fantastic. Like for a low budget as it is, that scene creeped me out. Always
That's what's the
out.
good part about it. It's cohabitation horror because it all takes place here. Like it doesn't go any other place. It's all right here. Yeah.
So this is where we kind of focus on the family now living in the house. So you've got
like a few months later or something. Yeah.
Yeah. You've
try
got
to get them in there as fast as possible.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the dad real quick, the father real quick. He's like just paranoid as hell. Broken
he's
marriage,
alcoholic, isn't he?
Like, yeah.
Yeah. He's alcoholic. Reverend George, I think his name is.
Yeah.
And the way they build it up is that they're staying as guests of the church in the house. You've got the renovator as well. You know, he gets killed by this clawed hand. And he's hung up in this kind of
the elevator chute that's in the house.
Yeah, man. It is creepy as well. Because the young boy, funny enough, the young boy I was going to mention, I said
good
earlier,
actor.
His name was Billy Jane, and but he's well known as called Billy Jacoby.
Yeah,
and you'll know him from Bloody Birthday, Hospital Massacre, Demon Warp, Cujo, and Nightmares.
Yeah, Cujo, I remember him from. Yeah,
very good little competent little actor. You know,
Nightmares. That's an anthology, isn't it?
That's the anthology one. Yeah, with Emilio Estevez, I think.
Yeah, that's right. They're competing with Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah. Decent for all I remember.
I think it may have been before, but yeah, it's a little bit off topic there. But yeah, great. Yeah, good stuff. Good actor. Yeah.
But he bumps into them, Mary, doesn't he? So Mary starts talking to him, and he's like, you know, this little girl, like I call her the ghost girl because we're gonna spoil it.
Yeah, it leads him to the basement area.
Yeah.
Of the house.
Right.
A lot of interesting stuff in this house. It's a big house. This is a big house, old school house.
Exactly, and he's fascinated, isn't he, by all the stuff that's going on, you know, in the basement. This little boy, and he's like just investigating, like any little kid would, you know.
Yeah.
Me personally, I would have been freaked out at that age, but no. But they all the children. So you've got the two sisters, haven't you? And the little boy.
Sure
they all go for a swim in the pond. This fucking pond, man, is like haunted or whatever, you know, because all the stuff that happened with the witch, which we'll come into in a bit.
Reverend David and the inspector are all checking him out, all sunbathing and stuff like that too. And he's like, just having this casual conversation about stuff.
Oh yeah, and he's looking at the girls like
because they're scouring the pond for his lost detective friend and stuff like that. Says don't know where he's gone. I think that's where they find the cross.
Oh god, so the one girl, she's in there swimming.
Yeah.
And she starts freaking out and saying something's pulling her under the water. So
the brother's on the other dock, I think.
Yeah. So they get her, the rescue, and pull her out. And all you see is this fucking guy's hand on her leg. And just like a hand cut on her leg. And that's obviously from the inspector. Yeah, the police inspector from earlier. That's another freaky scene, man. And again, you've got remind me a little bit of Jaws, you know, when she's getting pulled under, the first scene in Jaws.
Yes.
But yeah, so you've got that. There's a whole backstory with so there was a family called the Montclairs who were all murdered in the house in 1958.
Yeah.
One of them was hung. Yeah, another was spiked to death in the attic floor, and the other one was completely torn apart, which kind of like resembles some of the murders that's been going on. So yeah, you've got all that, you know, this one guy, that David Thompson, he's digging into all like the records and all this stuff. But the one daughter, Anna name is, she has nightmares about all the murders.
Yeah, after she gets in there, it's like premonition of it, right? or
yeah,
like dreams about it happening, and I'm like, wow, it's like, what can you
it's
kind of
happening
say?
again. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
she sees
happening.
all these spikes, doesn't she, on top on the ceiling
She does. She
of the
starts freaking
bedroom?
out. I think they're
Yeah,
like blood type spikes or something like that.
and of course she sees the little girl Mary as well, who keeps popping up at this point, all the way through.
Yeah.
So the summer of 1692, Elvira tells David to check the archives of the Roman Church.
Yeah.
This, once he finds out what's really been going on, with the backstory with the witch is superb. That whole flashback with the witch, I think, is done so well.
Because it was done on because it goes back to the Spanish Inquisition. I think the first priest before he died mentioned that, or finds out. When he goes to the archives and this nosy priest and stuff like that, he goes, well, no, I'm good and stuff like that. But he says, I know it took place during the Spanish Inquisition, and he has the cross at the time. This big cross, he has this sucker. So,
and it's kind of a powerful thing to have that we find out as well. But the young boy's gone missing at this point. I think he stumbles upon the dead guy in the lift.
Right, he goes into the basement. Goes into the basement part. This is House by the or not. This is the Beyond. Like, I think this was done before the Lucio Fulci's Beyond. Maybe no, it wasn't.
No, this was a year later, so I mean,
a year later, right? Where stuff seems to go on in this basement, where it's like there's a lot of stuff going on there. Yeah, he goes in there because I think he sees her. I think he sees the girl.
Yeah,
and he goes in that, and you see him getting snatched upwards. I'm like, oh, look at this.
Yeah. And then he goes missing, obviously. Then, and the family are trying to find out where he is. David finds the book in the church archives about the witch, and then we have that big flashback. So you've got this woman; she's accused of killing a 9-year-old girl named Mary. So then we realize what this little girl is, the ghost of this girl called Mary. She was basically drowned. Some kind of witch. I mean,
a lot of layers to this film.
Yeah, she's fucking freaky, man. The woman who gets put to death. She starts yelling out, and that's another Black Sunday moment,
A great scene with that too, where it sounds like a demon. That's like because Well, first they have her on that before they put her on the stake. They have her like in this because this is done during the Spanish Inquisition, so they have her like on this torture rack type of a thing and stuff like that too.
It's really well done because you got the creature effects on her face as well. When she's dying,
voice changes, like
a possession type witchy voice. My man, that always freaked me out as well. Whenever that happens in films, when you get like possession or anything like that. But that's done really well. But she basically curses everyone who's put her to death, because there's a few of them. She curses all of them. And we find out then within the next short space of time, most of them just die these horrible deaths.
Yeah, because what did they do? They set her on fire. They throw her into the lake, and then the priest he's a priest. He throws the big cross in there, and you see this cool effect of the water getting all hot and all bubbly, like that. You find out that was a seal.
Right.
Seal her there. So it's like, wow.
And like Elvira does tell David that he's got to do some kind of ritual if he's gonna because the cross has actually come out of the lake. He needs to undo all that and do some kind of ritual.
You have to reseal her. Yeah, you have to reseal her.
So the name of the witch is Alondra Sharak, and she was the witch or the woman who was put to death. We find out Alan's been hiding in this secret room in the basement.
Yeah, that the two detectives, or the detective is in there. Detective of Inspector Sturgis goes in there with his other police officer. Says there's got to be. They're all knocking the walls, and they find out like one of the walls is hollow. What was it? It's like a quick thing on that with the story too is like the priest later on dies that ended up killing the witch, like in a bad trippy way, gets back, put on that
Very
torture
bad.
rack thing, and just stretch, and just like
Yeah, man.
done. Yeah, that's a great scene with that too.
Like a medieval torture instrument, was
Yeah,
it? Or-
yeah, medieval
right.
torturing chamber thing. They kind of say, I think, like just everybody was like gone, and he was like the only one.
Yeah, because this
left
was
and
like
stuff
5
that.
years. Yeah, this was he lasted for 5 years, but all the others had died horrible deaths, before. But yeah, the inspector then, like you say, he finds Alan. He kind of knocks him out. They all arrest him, and because they all think that he's behind the murders at this point, don't they?
Right, it's a room that happened to be there where he was obviously living at.
Yeah, he's
so
like
he could
hiding
be
out.
closer to her. Yeah. So
Yeah. So you've got the whole backstory then of him worshipping this witch, I believe, and he's doing things to help the witch. So you don't know if he's actually doing.
There's something else. There's something up with that room because when you go in there, there's a door, right?
Yeah,
and you're like, well, what's up with the door?
Right, and then all the family, So the inspector basically he dies a horrible death as well. I guess this claw comes out of the witch and kind of drags him away.
Yeah, right. He goes into because it's almost like a doggy door. Right?
Yeah.
And he goes in there.
Yeah.
And like grabs him in a cool way. I love the hand. It's like
I love that because you don't see
just drags him. Yeah.
Exactly. You don't throughout the film, right? You see a little bit later on, you see a silhouette of the witch, but we don't see much of the witch, and it works.
You don't. I love
it works because of that, But then, of course, you've got the family. Then they're all kind of in danger. Then in the house, you've got Melinda, the mother. She goes into the basement. She finds the young boy, her son's body hanging down. They just come. That's again like a Friday the 13th film. Just starts hanging down in front of her.
He's hanging there.
I love
they
all
let that sit for a while.
Yeah. So the witch comes down and attacks the mother. I think it throws the mother all over the kitchen, and
the witch like beats her ass like badly.
Yeah.
A quick thing with that before this all happens, it's like the father's all talking to the son about something because this is a wrecked marriage. Like the one, was it Burnett? Daughter like thinks he's a failure and stuff like that too.
Right.
He obviously has not manned up at all.
No, he's got drinking issues.
She's screaming at him, you need to man your ass up. There's no issues here and stuff like that. The detectives tell him what's going on, tell him to stay up there with his wife, and his wife's just had enough of it. And he's like, I'm just gonna do something here. It's like, but he has like a flask of whiskey or whatever it is when he's all talking to the kids, stuff like that. And he's all like sneaking it, puts it back there. Yeah. That dynamic is like
the boy asks him, he goes, is that medicine? Like, which is quite
it's medicine. Yeah.
But so you've got the mother, she's being attacked by the witch. David arrives at the house with the crucifix. He sees George, the father, the alcoholic that we just mentioned.
It's all dark at night too, and stuff like that. It's like just prepping ready. This is like where shit literally hits the fan, like big time with this whole thing.
This is where, it's kind of been leading up to this. But so the mother gets dragged away by the witch, and he kind of tries to save David tries to save the sisters as well, doesn't he? I think he tells her.
He does because
the van.
He tells them just the father tells his daughters just stay up here. There is a quick goof here. The blonde, her gear changes. It's like almost like a nightie all of a sudden to where she was wearing before. When they're put in that room, I always thought that was kind of funny because when I first saw that, I'm like, oh, she changed clothes all of a sudden. So
right, I didn't
kind of like a nightie there, to add a little sexy to it. I don't mind that. And then and basically the other one and stuff like that, the rebel, you can say, like you can't tell me what to do and stuff like that. She says, screw this stuff, I'm going. And
they end up having an argument as well, the two sisters, and she says, shut your bitchy mouth.
Shut your bitchy mouth. Like a Giallo a little bit like that. They just
this crucifix has basically got the power, it can blow doors.
It's a deterrent. It's a deterrent.
But the father becomes this big pussy again. Then he barricades himself into the bedroom. And that's when he sees his wife's like bloody
Yeah, the
body in the
bedroom.
bed.
Yeah.
Man, and that's where we see the fucking witch in the window with the black silhouette of the witch in the window, man. So freaky, so scary.
Yeah, because I think he sees her.
It
and
causes
stuff
the
like that,
mirror
too.
to like explode, doesn't it?
Yeah,
and that's basically
the
slashes
mirror
him to
explosions.
death.
He's done.
Yeah, all the bits of glass like just slash him to
That
death.
happens a bit. That happens later because, like I say, when David shows up, he says like he talks to him and stuff like that, and he's like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs now. He's just like gone and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's completely gone at that point.
He gets like I say, the last daughter, the blonde, out, goes, get to the car, get out of here. Get out of here, just come back and stuff like that. And the other daughter ends up in the attic, and she gets taken, dragged, and then just like spiked like this, almost like a crucifix a bit.
Like a fucking stake through her head, basically.
Yeah,
and then
just the stake through his head, boom, boom, like that. Yeah.
And then we can hear like the witches cackling laughter as well. It's for me, the best shot of the film is coming up. So we see the witch in black silhouette coming down the stairs.
Yeah, I think kind of like floating down.
Yeah, man. It's that's the original cover out there, but it's still on some of the old original VHS.
Yeah.
And that's the image I love. I think it's the reverse of the witch, the scene I'm on about. It might be the reverse art. Yeah, that's it. Such a great shot. Best shot of the film for me. So David sees like the one girl's body then fall out of the van. So she's basically, dead as well. He kind of gets all these cans of like gasoline and starts like pouring it into the pond.
Well, one thing about the one thing about the dad too, like you say, when he gets, like you say, that's a great scene where the mirror shatters because he's like, I'm not leaving. Nope. I'm not going anywhere, whatever, like that. And
right.
He like just sees the mirror and it breaks out. And when he falls and he's basically dead, that's when you see the blood start to pour out like a little bit, squirt out of him and all this other stuff too. I really like that.
I love the death scenes in this. Like Boogeyman, actually. They're all unique and different.
Yeah.
So he sees the dead, he sees the dead body of Anne, the other girl, fall out the van. He completely sets alight the whole pond, and like just pouring gasoline. But then Mary
leaves the house, he goes to the car, she's dead. So he opens up the door and she's all hanging out there. What a great kill. I'm like, they're all dead. This film doesn't care. It really doesn't. It's like it really just doesn't care. Like, damn.
Right. So, do you know when he's putting all the gasoline on the pond and all that? So Mary appears again. But what I found was interesting is, so Mary is shown to be another form of the witch. So she was kind of even though she's the little girl who got killed by the witch.
She explains that, doesn't she?
So her being there now is another form of the witch. Yeah. So every time she's been popping up, she is the witch as well, which is kind of like, I didn't see that coming,
Yeah.
Basically, which I had to read up a little bit about it to find out, to realize that was the case. He stabs her with the crucifix, Mary, and she falls back
he takes
into the water.
because he's going up to her and stuff like that. She's like, being nice to him, and then says something like that. And he just takes that big cross and just goes whack. Like
exactly. That. I think this has got one of the best endings to a slasher film like I've ever seen.
Because she bursts into flames because she's in the lake. When he does that, she ends up in the lake and she falls. Right, you see the flames in the lake. That's a good practical effects there. The way they did that with the camera work.
So you've got all this leading up like to the end. So like any good film, or like Friday the 13th, even where you've got the final girl in the boat, and you've got all this kind of surreal like music. You think it's over. We kind of get that feeling here. Like David leaves So he's got the witches. So basically, he's just left this whole thing. He thinks the whole thing with the witch is done, with the girl dying in the pond, and he kind of walks away. But then, man, the last shot of the film, we see the witch's hand, like, come out of the water and drags him in.
Yeah,
and like
hear her laugh. You hear her laugh.
Yeah.
That's it. So basically, he resealed her, but it's just one of those things of like, she's still going to attack at night. Great ending. That's an old school slasher ending. Yeah, what can you say?
Yeah, again, superb. I even like the whole church music on the end of the credits. The whole Omen type, feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is another one solid. I don't think it's quite as good as Boogeyman, but it's still well worth having, I think. So yeah, I said the director basically he did work with Charles B. Pierce, who did The Legend of Boggy Creek. He was the editor. Yeah, he did the director of this edited The Town That Dreaded Sundown. He shot a Western as well with Charles B. Pierce.
Which I forgot about that. Like I said, The Town Down the Dreaded Sundown. The is it? The Evictors, right?
Yeah, The Evictors, yeah.
That's one I have not seen. I definitely need to check that one out.
So they basically, the way this whole film come about, right? Some guy asked him to basically make a film, but what I wanted him to do was just film the opening scene, give him $8,000 to do it, film the opening scene, and kind of ship it around, see if we can get a deal.
Yeah, that's a great conversation with the director of this and stuff like that. So shout out to help with that.
And there was basically, I think, like, some of the characters weren't originally going to be in it. So originally the script was just going to be the family moving into this haunted house. There was going to be no pond, none of the witch burning, anything like that. None of the little girl, Alan, Elvira, were all later added, to the script. But yeah, like I say, Bud Davis was a stunt coordinator who was a Phantom of Town played the Phantom of Town of The Dreaded Sundown and the Witch, which is cool. I'm trying to think if I got anything else. The producers had just done First Blood, the film is Sly Stallone.
Mario Kosar. Yes.
Yeah. So they were channeling all their kind of everything into that.
That's kind of neat. That's interesting. I'm like, wow, look at that. Yeah.
This kind of went on the back burner a little bit. It did play a few cities,
it didn't get released. It didn't get released until 1985. So it was there for a while.
The director, basically by chance, his son was looking online about the film, and then he found out that the film was a big hit in Europe, and they changed the title to The Witch, which the director didn't even know for years later, mind. Which I found interesting. And then he realized then that this got like a bit of a cult following online, which is good, but he didn't find out till like 20, 30 years later, basically.
From companies like this, when Shout Factory just started, Scream Factory first started, and hand it to them. I don't think we'll get another release of this, which is possibly. I
can't see it being a 4K, can you?
No, I can see the 4K with the 2K transfer. This is a damn good transfer on this Blu-ray.
It looks
their
great
homework on this because, you see early stuff from this film, like the trailer and stuff like that. Dang, that's like a grindhouse feel to the film. I'll let you go.
Yeah, you played the trailer earlier.
Absolutely.
And that trailer is amazing.
Like you say, some of the quotes, like you say, slapping Cheryl and Leahy, shut your bitchy mouth.
I love that.
It's
Some
of the goofs here. I do remember that. During the flashback, and so it's based around in 1692. Father Andrew is getting murdered. He's wearing something on his feet that doesn't match the timeline. I always think that's kind of funny.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, like say you don't notice a lot of this stuff. Like say taglines, you believe it just before you die. The narrator for that trailer is hilariously good. It did very good. I don't know what it made at the box office, if anything. I know the release date was January 2nd, 1985, so it celebrated its whatever anniversary at the start of the year. Silver Lake in Los Angeles. So
that's right, California,
USA. So So what's your overall thoughts and score on this film there, Darren?
So yeah, this is another one I love. Just creeps into like the top tier, just about creeps
Oh,
in.
yeah.
This has got to be a strong 7.5 out of 10. And it's like I've not seen these two films for a long time. I've been kind of focusing on the Giallo a lot. And it's nice to go back every once in a while and watch all these slashes like the streams me and Chris are going to be doing. And yeah, they both hold up. So I really like Superstition. I gotta be honest. I think it's a great film.
This reaches my top 10. This is a strong 8 out of 10. This might go higher.
Okay.
It's done really well. It predates a lot of films to come. I think this is like I say, this is kind of a gold standard here to me. Like I say, I love the fact when a film can give two shits about people and be as brutal as it is and stuff. And like I say, this was during a time when slashers were an experimental genre. Either loved them or you didn't. And it is for a generation like ours who just grew up on these. And I love it a lot. Love the fact I was shocked when everybody literally was killed, like literally. Other than the Elvira character, she was not.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
she just went back and just like, yeah, whatever. I think she maybe mentioned something like that. She kind of knew what was going to happen. All in all, it's a great film. Like I say, if you can find this on somewhere, buy it used. If you find it on eBay for like a cheap price or something like that, or Shout is doing another out of print sale and still available. Check Amazon, pick it up. If you like slashers and stuff, if this isn't in your collection, I highly recommend it. Definitely pick it up if you're a slasher dude like I am and like a fellow slasher bro like my guy over there, Darren. So definitely worth the trouble. It's very good. So yeah, those are two awesome top tier slashers that me and Darren reviewed. All in all, just what's your thoughts on just this genre at the time these two films were released there, Darren?
So the genre, this is kind of both of these come right in the heyday. So you've got, 1980 Boogeyman. You've got a ton of like, Friday the 13th kind of set,
Burning, like Bad Man, just in this time from 80 to 82.
Yeah. You can the Slayer, which we covered, and that's another underrated one. I mean, there are some, and I'm not, going to say all these slashes are great. There are some that are absolutely horrible.
Some are quite bad.
Yeah, but we're going to try and cover, the ones that are decent. But Death Screams is another one we did, which I like a lot as well.
Yeah, that was a great scream. Yeah.
But, yeah, we probably won't go too mainstream. I doubt we're going to ever do stuff like, My Bloody Valentine or anything like that, because it's probably been done to death. Right. But if you go on, there's a website called Hysteria Lives, and it basically covers all the slasher films. If you go on there and check out 1980 right to 1984, I think it is, and then just kind of go through them, start digging into them. I mean, you won't go far wrong with the slasher film.
Very cool. Like I say, 80 to 84, probably the best 4 years in horror history, in my opinion, for the slasher genre and ever. Got, of course, to add Maniac to that list, of course. Like I say, a lot of great stuff.
Oh, God, you got Nightmares and a Damaged Brain, Maniac, Don't Go in the House.
The House.
Yeah, you got
Don't Answer the Phone.
Titles.
Yeah, great stuff. So what do you got planned on your great channel there, Darren?
Right, so Sunday, we're going to be doing kind of the Monster of Florence. So what me and Dirk are going to do, we're going to cover the actual crime, the actual case itself. And there's two films like The Killer is Among Us and The Monster of Florence. So we're going to kind of integrate the two together and do reviews of the film and see how that pans out. Because I know Dirk's going really deep. He's got this audio book. I think it's like 11 hours of the whole case. And I've got documentaries as well. So we're going to see that and see what happens with that, because we got something ourselves planned similar, haven't we, for the next slasher stream as well?
Yes, we do. Coming up on this channel, it's an off-the-cuff. First, we're going to do an off-the-cuff episode. Expect that in a couple weeks, where we're going to be talking about a series that we plan on doing, a version of 2 films on serial killers. And the first one we're going to do on serial killers is going to be on Ted Bundy. So 2 films for that. The Deliberate Stranger with Mark Harmon. I can't wait for us to talk about that.
I'm looking
I
forward
highly
to that.
suggest everyone watches that. That's probably the best performance of Ted Bundy I have ever seen. And
Mark
the
Harmon,
Ted Bundy
yeah.
film that Vinegar Syndrome released from the 80s. I forget the name of that. I know Mr. Mancini did the practical effects for that one as well, or he's in it.
Yeah. I think that was just called Ted Bundy.
Yeah, just called Ted Bundy.
I need to download that one because I haven't got that one, but I'll get it in time.
Can't wait to do that one. But yeah, we're going to plan on doing an off the cuff on serial killers and genre, why we are into the true crime aspect of it all, and talk a little bit about these people, mostly men, but women have done it in the past too, and dive in a little bit to their dark kind of brains and their aspects of these cases. We're going to discuss some of the cases and expect that. Next slasher stream, me and Darren will talk about that. And we have a lot of stuff, all the colors of the slasher, dude, which is going to be on here, future episode for that. We're going to be talking about 2 films for that. Just something different from the slashers, but still in the horror genre, in my opinion. We're going to be talking about Perfect Blue, and we're going to be talking about Fade to Black, which I don't think Fade to Black's been talked about, but we're going to talk more about that. And of course, Perfect Blue never gets talked about. And it's an anime, and it's the only anime of its kind, done by a director that we lost way too soon. And expect that one in the future as well. And a lot of content. Me and Darren have discussed this and stuff, so expect that on this channel. On my other channel, just did Western Wednesday. Thank you, everybody, for checking that out. Thank you all for support on my second channel, where I just talk about everything else. I plan on doing my second channel, I plan on doing a Policio Testi episodic series, diving into that awesome Italian crime genre. I've only seen a few films and stuff, but I'm going to discuss those more because of the great channels that I've discovered on YouTube. So I like to thank everybody for the support on that. And just, of course, there's something geeky in the next couple weeks as well. And just great content in the future. And like I say, a lot of stuff goes through my head. So expect other content. I'm not going anywhere. Neither is my man Darren or Dirk in this awesome community. So good stuff. Good stuff planned. So with that, good quick one here because we talked about some great slashers. And expect next slasher stream in the next few weeks as well. Thank you, everybody, much for the support. If you can, slash the like, sleeping bag, kill that, subscribe. And I'm going to get into some of the people that have joined us here because I see some of them here. I see Reed dropped in, say hi. What's going on?
Yeah,
Reed?
I was going to say,
My fellow California brother and stuff like that, too. Great to see you here. And Russell, man, always cool to see you in here.
What's up, Russ, man?
And he makes the point. 24, when I first seen the Boogeyman OG sequel sucked.
It is really bad. Yeah,
very bad. Again, thank you all for stopping in on this Wednesday, this slasher stream. Check out the other content here on YouTube. Check out all these other channels. I have the link to Darren and Dirk's channel in the info bar. I also have the link to my other channel in the info bar. And with that, we will see you all next time. Again, slash the like, sleeping bag, kill the subscribe, and like all the other channels that you see here in the chats. Like to thank everybody. You all have a great, great Wednesday, and I will see you on the next one. Everybody, take care.
Have a good one, guys.
And watch more slashers too, and watch more films. Physical media.